So, looks like Team Capua's crashing down again? That's why it was a good thing we got the hell away from that thing while we're in the air. And, as you can see, all of Liberl has no orbital power. It is a countrywide orbital shutdown phenomenon. And we're about to find out just how much this country relied on orbital power. Well, kind of. At least we get our pay for that. So, think of it this way. Imagine what would happen in real life if suddenly there was no electricity. That's basically what's going on right now. Like, electricity, the concept of electricity, just gone. Not to mention the fact that we rely on the orbital lights on roads to keep monsters away from travelers. And it really does go to show the heavy stress that occurs to any major governing locations when something like this goes on. We do have a vague idea of what may have happened. Basically what that gospel did to Zeiss in FC, but on a continental scale. Agate, I think we've already stepped into freaking panic right now. We're officially in the freaking panic zone. Yeah, this is where getting things under control soon is, the best policy. So we have a new mission. Yep, that. Exactly that. Basically, we have to stop Liberl from descending into complete chaos, after the absolute foundation of society is gone. And flashback. Basically, it's an anti-orbital shutdown phenomenon thing. Finally, bringing the Black Orbment to him back in FC has paid off. He's been able to research it, and he's finally found some way to counteract what's been going on. If anything, the orbital shutdown phenomenon going off in Zeiss may have been a blessing in disguise, because seeing it work on the scale of a single city, that's given him, like, the knowledge he needs to figure out the whole process and how to reverse it. Yeah, the Gospels were not emitting an EMP, they were draining the orbital energy and transferring it to the Aureole. And that's why Ren said they were the hands of the Aureole. Now, it itself is capable of doing that, and of course on a much larger scale. It's likely some places on the borders of Erebonia and Calvard are affected. Yeah, that huge floating city is basically sucking up all the power in this entire country. Here's the problem though, he said an orbment for a reason. These things are not exactly large scale. Just a single orbment and nothing big like airship engines. $16, huh? I mean, that's enough to equip the entire party, but I get the feeling that there is a greater need than us in the equation. Yeah, let me guess, he kind of figured out something like this might happen from the moment that he even got the black orbment. Yeah, like, his letter was the thing that told us to take that thing to Professor Russell, so everything set in motion back then is finally coming into play. So you might think that we should attach this to our orbment so that we can still use arts during this crisis, but actually, here is something really, really interesting. This is how we have to use the zero field generators, or ZFGs. We have to restore the country's phones. I find the way that the game handles a nationwide crisis like this really interesting, because I feel like a lot of games just kind of, I don't know, I wouldn't say like fantasize things, but like, they just basically only, you know, cover the bare minimum that you need for like gameplay and stuff. They don't really think how society itself would effectively handle something like this, and how you would need to go about restoring functionality to society in a situation like this. But here, it's just interesting, like I've never seen any other story that says, okay, yeah, first thing we need to do is get the phones working again, which makes perfect sense. So, that's 6 of them left over. And that is our mission, deliver the ZFGs to each guild branch. And well, one of them will already be spent on the phone here. So that will leave us with 5 remaining. Of course, if only a single guild branch has its phone working, that's not really going to be of much help. Again, it's Tita, why are you surprised at this point? And hey, we actually have it working. Okay, good. Looks like we actually get a connection. So at least Bose can now call the army. But, of course, no other communication between the branches yet. And, major problem here, you may have noticed that two of our party were absent from this scene. So, we have lost Chloe and we've lost Kevin for this entire chapter, and Olivier is still gone. That means that all of our primary arts users are no longer with us. They're busy handling the panic in other areas. And so, we already have a ZFG delivered to Grancel, that leaves us with 4. Coincidentally, 4 just so happens to be enough for one whole party. I wonder if you see where this is going. One ZFG for every remaining guild house. Roland, Zeiss, Ruin, I mean, with no airships, we can't exactly get there. So at least that takes one thing out of the equation. We can focus on restoring peace to Labourle itself. So yeah, like I said, we're down quite a few members. The closest thing we have to a dedicated arts user in this party is Joshua and Shara, so I may as well bring Shara here. And let's see, actually Zin just happens to work out to be the lowest level out of my remaining characters, so let's choose him. You need to be very careful in forming your party though. Due to the lack of phones, you actually need to give a ZFG to a guild branch in order to activate the phone and call over your party members to switch party in any region besides Bose right now. So as long as we stay here in Bose, we can edit our party freely. Once we leave though, things will change. Soon I'll explain exactly how this chapter works. And as Shara is indicating, there's a lot of side quests to do in this chapter. In fact, we'll actually be getting all the rest of this game's BP in Chapter 8. So here we go. During the shutdown phenomenon, only characters equipped with a zero field generator can use Orbal Arts. Equip a generator in the accessory slot to use it. Furthermore, this is the part that's really annoying for fans of Tita. As Tita uses an Orbal cannon, she cannot act in any way other than movement or her gunpowder-powered Cannon Impulse S-Craft without a generator. Now remember back in FC where I alluded to this? Something to point out as well about that S-Craft is that that's actually not an orbally powered gun, that's a traditional machine gun. And you might want to remember that for later. Yep, her S-Craft using a gunpowder weapon actually was relevant now. And no more happy music in cities anymore. So, Yeah, we're going to need to equip one of our 4 zero field generators to everybody you plan on using arts on. Oh, Kevin had the gladiator belt. Please tell me that he left it back in our inventory. Which is amazing. The good thing about Zin is he really does not need a zero field generator, so that effectively saves one. Shera definitely does need one, though. If we head down here, we get a bit of a conversation. Yeah, everyone can see this now. Though I'm not sure if they've realized that this is the source of all their problems yet. Very true. Oh yeah, it certainly was. I mean, the real start of things was when Cassius Bright was lured out of the country. And look at that! The doors to Bo's Market are stuck open because, yeah, guessing they'd ran on orbital power as well. So, something kind of interesting happens if you go to an orbital factory and try and change up orbments or anything like that. Because all of their machines for making quartz and opening slots, they also rely on orbital power. That is true. But here's something. They wouldn't be so mean as to deprive us of orbital factories for an entire chapter. If we temporarily use a ZFG here, we can get their equipment working just long enough to open up slots or make quartz. And so let's just skip over the explanation that Josh was giving here. The problem is, remember that this is temporary, so the actual, citizens of this town, they're not going to be able to really make use of this. So everyone here lining up, don't get used to it. But I actually came down here to upgrade at least one slot on Shera so she could use that Mind 5 gem. As you can see, we still have quite a lot of Seepeth from the previous chapter. And for some reason, you can synthesize more cloak quartz now. You really don't need them unless you somehow miss that chest back in chapter 7, which is a possibility. You only ever really need one. Yeah, since I have enough action 4s to pretty much cover an entire party, I think right now I should be focusing on upgrading everyone's slots to level 3 whenever I can. Especially my primary casters. Because they're going to need all the help they can get. So yeah, now I can give Shera the Sapphire Gem. Okay, so now it's time for a bit more of an explanation of exactly how this chapter works. And I'm going to do this by showing off the map of Labourle. We're currently in Bose. We gave up one ZFG to restore power here. We now have 4 left. I think you can see where this is going. Our mission is to restore the phones to Roland, Ruin, and Zeiss. But in order to do so at each location, we have to give up one of our ZFGs. The further you progress in Chapter 8, the fewer people you have who can use arts. So things are going to get progressively harder and harder. Every region has side quests. The vast majority of these require fighting monsters. So there's a bit of strategy in when you turn in the ZFGs. So any extermination requests can be done without going into a Bracer guild and checking the board. Because of that, I'm going to be showing off the locations of all of them, and I would highly recommend that you fight the monsters before you visit the guild branches in each region, because that way you have the maximum number of ZFGs for each monster. Here is the other very interesting thing about Chapter 8. It is pretty much the closest thing this game has to being free roaming and open-ended. You can take on all of the regions in any order. Just about everything in Liberl is open to you at this point. You can go anywhere. So if you missed any chests anywhere in the country, now is the time to get them. Because once you give up all 3 ZFGs, and you're down to just 1, at that point, simply approaching the Grand Cell region will begin the point of no return. We will be going to Grand Cell before that though, and I highly recommend that you take care of everything you need to do in Grand Cell before you turn in the ZFGs, otherwise you'll lose your chance to do that forever. This is also your last chance to complete the fishing book, and this is why I've saved fishing until now, because we have access to every single fishing spot in the country. Now is the best time to fish, weirdly enough. Well, I guess it's one of the few hobbies that you can partake in without ornaments. And on that note, our first stop is going to be Valeria Lakeshore. Before we set off though, I'm gonna talk to Mare Maybell because wow, if she was overworked before... Granted though, she doesn't actually know that Joshua is back. That's also something that you want to do in this chapter. This is our first chance for Joshua to reunite with most people in Liberl. And in general, I would really recommend going out of your way to talk to NPCs during this chapter. You get such great insights into how every individual in this country is dealing with the crisis. If you talk to people in restaurants, they talk about how they're going back to cooking with fire now, and they're trying to figure out what kinds of recipes they can use without orbital power. You really get to see how everyone is coping. It's just so cool. There are a lot of games that deal with, like, even just stories in general that deal with huge crises like this, but I just feel like this moment in this game is just one of the few times I've seen a nationwide crisis depicted just so realistically. It's just seriously, if you're playing along, talk to everyone you can. It's a great experience, and it's just something that I really highly recommend. This chapter is pretty light on, like, actual concrete plot, but in terms of, like, all of the world building you get out of talking to the NPCs, it's phenomenal. Oh yeah, I'm sure she is. Well, we can help her with a few monsters, and, I guess a few more things too. There actually isn't a ton that we need to do side quest-wise in the Bose region, but it's kind of a good easing you into how this chapter is going to work. Now, either on our way to the shore, or right near Amberl Tower, there should be a monster extermination. Okay, yeah, there it is. May as well take care of this now. Yeah, the ancient mechs from the towers have infiltrated into real space now. Let's go. This one is a whole bunch of Dooms. S-Series Doom and Guard Minion and Broken Piece. Basically the standard, like, grey/white models. Not really all that much to say here. You're kind of out of CP from the Ren fight. It's kind of hard to believe that was, that happened so recently. And, oh, I guess Estelle also has Death Scream. Let's just hope you guys don't go too crazy with axes. Oh, I forgot you could use instant death. That is not good. Nice dodge there. Yeah, I was like, oh, I don't need to equip any instant death protection now. Yeah, that was not the best. However, I can do this. Thunder God Kick! Not a lot of damage since you aren't buffed, but still, it was something. Okay, that at least gets rid of you. I think Joshua should be hitting his S-Break quite soon. Okay, that gets rid of the support from the guard minion. Now, just in case this eliminates one of the dooms, I may as well go for this. In fact, I feel pretty confident this will. Yes, kind of barely, but it did. Okay, Xena's not protected against instant death, so this Joshua isn't either. Well, that was, that didn't go well. Okay, once more, with actual instant death protection this time. Which already is paying off. Okay, that's one doom down already. Don't think we can make it two. Okay, that's a few more down. I'm going to revive Joshua now. Should probably buy some more refresh jelly, actually. We are in the region for it. Yeah, that hits really hard even when you do have the death immunity.
We're good to go.
By the way, imagine doing that with only one caster. Yeah. That's how this chapter's gonna go later, but we did get a new quartz, Strike 2. Which I would love to give Xin, but he's kind of stuck using an Earth status quartz here, unless I gave him Septium Vein there, which is a bit of a waste, but oh well. So Strike 2 is level 2 quartz that gives all of your attacks a 20% chance of criticaling, which is actually pretty good. So that fight roughed us up quite a lot, so let's relax with some fishing. There's actually a reason why I'm going down here. We can see Lloyd here. And he's going on about that Guardian he was talking about earlier. Now, the good news is, this Guardian is nowhere near as bad as the one in Persona 4. The bad news is, it is a little bit of a guide, dang it, but Lloyd does mention here trouts and salmons. Trout and salmon are actually what you need to fish up this thing. Also, there's an army soldier here. Oh, hey, you're from the Arsail. As Joshua was saying. But anyway, back to fishing. So what we need is either a salmon or a trout, and I feel like I don't actually have any of those. No, I don't. Okay, so first step is to actually catch a salmon or a trout. So my sources say the best place to get trout right now is Ravenue Village Ponds. Now, for this chapter, you'll be doing a lot of running around through areas where the enemies are really no threat, but can be kind of annoying. So, you might want to equip the Cloak Quartz to eliminate encounters. There we go. Okay, yeah, there are a few different baits that can get you trouts, but you need just one of them. And I also got an eel, which I'm pretty sure is a fish that I didn't have before. Okay, so now that we have a trout, we can go back to Valeria Lakeshore and use that trout as bait to catch the Guardian. I would highly recommend saving before you do this, though. Especially if you only have one trout. It's not guaranteed to be a Guardian, and the timing can be a little bit off. Also, the Aquamaster lets you use every single type of bait, although its timing is actually a bit worse than some of the more specialized rods. So yeah, with the Lake Lord 2 we can also use trout, and I think this one works a little bit better. And that's not what we needed. Wait, did that fish just give me an emergency puppet? Wow, okay, that's pretty cool, but it's unfortunately not the fish I need, so I have to reload. There it is! Dynatrad! So, you probably won't get it first try, it is very random, but once you do catch it, you'll trigger a bit of a cutscene here. Yep, Estelle just achieved what you, Narukami, required a lot of time and effort for without even realizing it. The student has surpassed the teacher. So what does the Master Fisher card do, you may ask? Well, it's a sign that we're officially a member of the Fisherman's Guild. We're obviously not done yet. We're going to complete our entire fishing book. The headquarters of the guild is at Grand Cell. So what this actually does is, once we get there, we can show the card there, and then we'll be able to buy any type of fishing baits. Remember though that Grand Cell will be closed off to you after you deliver every ZFG. So you want to take advantage of that while you still can, to complete your fishing book if you're going for that. And so somebody completed one of Lloyd's life goals for him. I mean, I suppose his goal was only to see the Guardian. But anyway, here's what's in our fishing book so far. So we've completed a little bit of it based on... And yeah, here's the Dynatrad. This thing's pretty enormous. But we still have quite a bit to go in our fishing book. But we'll take care of that later. Next on our agenda is to, and here's another weird thing, because you might have noticed that didn't even register as an official side quest. There are actually a lot of things that you can do in this chapter that don't qualify as side quests and are only vaguely alluded to. This chapter actually operates on classic RPG logic of talk to every random NPC you can, because some of them will hint you towards side activities you can do that aren't even official side quests. Now, one of those that you can get info on if you talk to random people is that strange monsters have appeared at the tops of every one of the tetracyclic towers. You might notice here the towers are back to normal. Yeah, we can't ever go into the altered space again. But I'll see you at the top of the tower for what we need to deal with. Okay, so see that thing right there? Roaming around on top of the tower? Now, you can't actually fight it if you have cloak equipped, so let's take that off. But that is our target. And you are actually capable of getting preemptives on them. So, this is the Dimension Bug, ancient interdimensional monster. And the good news is it's set up perfectly for Thunder God Kick. Now, the really weird thing is there are actually 2 different entries for the Dimension Bugs in the enemy log. There's one that does have an item drop and one that doesn't. So, 2 of them are the type that doesn't. Accompanying them, we have these Weather Seeds. They tend to die pretty quickly to Death Scream, but if you don't kill them quickly, they can get really annoying. So let's go ahead and set up Death Scream here. Estelle will... yeah, I guess I'll have to just... can't even morale. Yeah, I guess she'll go for another Death Scream. And, triple Death Scream! Yeah, like I said, these things don't like Death Scream at all. But you don't want to leave them alive, because they will start to fly around the place and hit you, interrupt your attacks, and they actually hit pretty hard too. Yeah, these things are pretty resilient to physical attacks, so I will need to buff Zin, but you might notice that Zin actually came out of that with more CP than he went into that attack with. That is the power of Thunder God Kick as well. So, okay then, let's, yeah, I guess I'll just Shadow Scream again if we're getting off immediately. Now it basically comes down to just chipping away at them. I think I'll actually yell Morale, even though it's not really, like, as good of a boost as Zin's. And let's, swipe that crit turn. Unfortunately, can't use any S-Crafts in this turn. I could, though, go for... Yeah, I was about to say True Evil Eye, but we don't even have True... I think he doesn't learn True Evil Eye until really late. But, let's see how much Thunder God Kick does with a 20% strength buff. And once again, he comes out of that attack with more CP than he had when he went in, because Thunder God Kick is just ridiculous. Okay, so... these things are finally going to actually get a chance to hit us. And they do hit pretty hard. I love the laser sound they make too. Okay, move down is completely fine. Definitely going to need to heal CP after this though. Let's... yeah, I guess we'll do this again. Cheryl will be my, AT advanced bot. I think I'll actually Black Fang on that crit turn. Okay, you go... oh yeah, they do split. But as with most enemies that split, they share the HP among all of their copies, so each time they split, they get weaker. Oh, great. I was hoping that wouldn't hit Joshua. How much health did you absorb from that? Quite a bit of it. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and I will need to restock on the refresh jellies because, like I said earlier, I can buy these now. And I'm gonna need to swipe a crit turn with Zin. I really don't care about my movement going down. Okay, let's see how I can do this. Let's just, yeah. This should be over pretty soon. Okay, 2 down, just 1 left. I hope it doesn't end up surviving this and healing. It may end up surviving this and healing. It's honestly kind of weird that absorbing that much HP is honestly not as big of a threat as it used to be.
You ready?
Unfortunately, Zin didn't get a chance to get in on this. And that was actually terrible. Oh, come on. Okay, yeah, I do not care about EP Absorb. Cher's gonna miss out on the experience from this fight. But with that, we get the Shield Orb, which is an accessory. There it is. Yeah, so all of these tower accessories from the Dimension Bugs, because yes, there is one at the top of every tower, boost speed by 5, but they boost something else as well, in this case plus 50 defense, which is not bad. So with that done, I'll see you outside the tower.